Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. This is Marta's Magical Mystery Class, and this is drafting video number 12 of 13. We are almost there, and actually there's going to be a little less distance between this one and the next one than there usually is. But we are celebrating 55,000 words, and the last one will celebrate 60,000 words. Now, your draft may actually need to be a little longer than that. And that's okay. I am shifting things up for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, during the month of November. So if you have not finished your draft at 60,000 words, go ahead and catch it up during the month where I will be doing other stuff here on the channel. And then picking up in December, we'll pick up with videos that are about the editing process. So these have all been... The word I would use is generative, because they've all been about encouraging you to just keep putting ideas out there. And I've been trying to give you sort of more general things to think about rather than specific revision practices or specific kind of editing pass pieces. And we are nearing the end of those things too. Today, the literary terms I want to talk to you about are imagery and imagistic language. A lot of people find that a little scary. That language for talking about literary work tends to come out of poetry more than it comes out of prose conversations. But certainly imagery and imagistic language, and I'll try to split the hair between those two in a minute, are very much a part of prose, as well as they are a part of poetry. Imagery, in the most basic sense, is language that appeals to our senses, okay? Imagery is language that appeals to our senses. Imagistic language really is when we are using language in artful ways, to do that and you can argue that means the same thing as imagery. But you will find imagery everywhere, in the way that we talk to each other. We say, this is hot, it's cool, it's so yum, okay? We're talking about touch. When we talk about hot and cold, we're talking about that very tactile sense of touch. When we say, this is so yum, we're talking about taste, okay? Obviously, descriptive writing can appeal to the sense of sight, sense of sound, sense of smell, in addition to touch and taste. So, working through your draft, absolutely you have image-driven or imagistic passages. Obviously you have great imagery in your work already. Part of the editing process will be to play up that imagery a little bit. Make your language appropriate, make the images in your language appropriate to the things that you're talking about. That's part of the craft of it, is making all of that fit together. But imagistic language can be basic description, or it can be what we call a simile or a metaphor. A simile is a comparison between two things using like or as. A metaphor is the same kind of comparison, but it's more deeply embedded. It doesn't advertise itself as a comparison. So fast as a jet is a simile. Bright as a star is a simile. The same way to express those sentiments in metaphor would be the car flew down the road. He beamed at the audience, okay? Those are ways to get those same kinds of ideas across, two different methods. And then, of course, there is no attempt to compare one scene or item or person to another, but simply to describe. And that can also be, I guess I would say description can fall under imagistic language, but we wouldn't normally think of plain description as having a lot of imagery. Imagery really comes in when we begin with those comparisons of one thing to another, those kinds of similes and metaphors. I've got a great passage I'm going to share with you out of a novel by the writer I'm going to talk about here in a minute. So this is, there's both a simile and a metaphor here. Mickey lit his next cigarette. I was beginning to feel like a herring in a smokehouse. I'd be a kipper before morning if I hung around Mickey. See how neatly she's done that? That is moving right on into the review portion of the video. That is out of one of Val McDermid's early Kate Brannigan novels from the 1990s. Val did 6, I think, Kate Brannigan novels that are, I love them because Kate is a working private eye. Kate's cases are not usually very interesting. And in fact, as the book opens, she's working with a band to track down counterfeit merch. Somebody is trying to make money using this band, using the images of members of this band and their logo and their information, but it's not officially licensed merch from the band itself. So that's how the book starts. Now she, of course, then ends up involved in a murder, and she has to figure out how she can, she ends up getting hired to further investigate the murder after the police have written it off as accidental. But she wouldn't have had anything to do with the band if she hadn't been doing this other much more mundane, much more standard private eye kind of thing and investigating the counterfeit merchandise. And that's part of the plot of Deadbeat, the first of the Kate Brannigan novels. But Val McDermid has done so much since the 90s. She's even launching a new series, even as we speak, about a journalist in the 70s. She has moved from the kind of cozier mystery end of the pool into the hardcore graphic thriller end of the pool, and still kind of can hit all those notes in between. She's really amazing. If that wasn't enough, she also has a nonfiction book on forensics. It's just called Forensics, for writers who are writing crime fiction, and it's amazing too. So Val McDermid is definitely a writer to read, a writer to know. I keep trying to figure out what else do I need to tell you. I feel like we're going a little fast tonight, but that's okay. Because we're coming down to the end of the draft, and then we're going to go into NaNoWriMo. And there will just be lots of NaNoWriMo fun. Let me check my notes real quick, see if there's anything else. I don't think so. I think we're just a little short this week. So I will see you again very soon. I'm cheating a little and shortening the interval between this video and the next one because I really want to be done with these in October and moving on to the NaNoWriMo stuff in November. See you soon. Bye-bye.